Let's talk to the Deputy Minister then for Water and Sanitation, Mr. David Mahlobo. Mr. Mahlobo, thank you so much for the time, for joining us on Newzroom Afrika. I believe you may have been able to hear some of the words coming through then from some of those residents in Hammanskraal. What are the reassurances? What can you say ultimately to them, sir?
No, thank you very much, Arabil, and thanks to Nobilo also on the other side. This morning, you'll have noticed that Minister Majodina was live with Adrian, dealing with the situation in the eThekwini, also certain aspects there in Hammanskraal. Let's just probably clarify some quick few issues. One of the things that has happened, the problem of Hammanskraal has received a presidential intervention. As we are quite aware, President Cyril Ramaphosa visited that particular communities, directed the ministers to work with the city of Tshwane. Initially, there were problems that we could not work together for various reasons, that they could not be able to accept our help. But ultimately, the change in administration, when Mayor Brink came on board, there was a change in attitude. And the biggest problem they faced was the Royval wastewater system that supplies the Apis River to Royval and then the timber treatment plant. That was actually producing water that is polluted, not complying with the South African national standards for drinking water, which is 241. There were issues of E. coli, which is bacteria. Then there was issues of ammonia. That was a problem there. Ultimately, people died, Arabi. Then President directed us to work with them. Minister Majodina has intervened in them. In our intervention is divided into two components. One component, the municipality itself, is fixing the Royval water system, which is a long-term solution. And in the next 18 months, they should be able to complete that project, supported by DBSA and ourselves and Human Settlement. And progress is happening. On the other side, the Minister of Water and Sanitation, Minister Majodina, made 750 million rand available to say the citizens of Hammanskraal, they will not be in a position to wait for the Royval system to be sorted out. In that 750, we appointed Mahalis. There was available water in a system called the Clip Drift system in terms of the water treatment plant. Then we had to upgrade that treatment plant in the shortest possible space, wherein we had to put a package plant, which is a mobile plant that can treat 50 million liters of water per day. But for that plant to do, we had to do it in terms of 4 phases. Phase 1, it has been completed now, Arabil, as Nobile is reporting. Now we are providing 12.5 million liters per day to certain parts of Hammanskraal, especially Mandela Village, Marokolong, Ramutse, Kekana Gardens, and certain parts of Babelige, which is what 49, 73, 74, and 75. On record, we need to indicate that issue of putting package plant module 1, there were delays, one on the basis that there was a rock formation in terms of geological formation. We went there, myself and the minister, in September to do an oversight. And then ultimately it was solved. And by end of October, the system was actually producing the 12.5. But then Tshwane, when we met, even on the 23rd of December, like we're even working today, on the 23rd of December, there were problems that were existing. The Tshwane network, whether the reservoirs, whether the distributive network, that network was contaminated. Remember, it used to receive water from the timber plant. It has issues of E. coli, which are bacteria. They will have caused the health risk if we say citizens must be able to drink it. At the very same time, there were issues of chronic health risk, where you have your heavy metals like iron, your ammonia, and others that could be found in water. But then there's also an issue of turbidity. Then we had a problem of flushing of the system that took a little bit longer on the basis that there was not sufficient water to clean. The plant had a pumps problems, but also electricity problem. Our DG, Sean Phillips, on the instruction of Pam Majodin, our minister, spoke to ESCOM. They've given us a dedicated line. Now we're able to actually have more water actually being produced by the package plant module 1. Then the system has been cleaned now.
Sure.
And every day they are taking results, Arabil. The results I've got this morning. In terms of acute health issues, it has been cleaned now. It's above 97%. On chronic, it's above 95%. But we want 100%. Turbidity remains as a main issue.
Okay.
That's why Nobila, when she interacts with those people, there is an issue that the water looks murky because the NTU, which is turbidity, is still very high. The municipality will continue to clean. It's just an operational issue now on the hydrants because the water has been static for some time. They will continue to clean it. After they've cleaned it in the next few days, the municipality itself as an authority, then they will declare these words that the water must be drained. But this package plant, we must be able to indicate additional 12.5 megaliters will come at the end of March, which will make it 25. The additional 12.5 will come in around April, and the last 12.5 will come at the end of June. In other words, they will have 50 megaliters available per day for that particular community. But it's not a panacea Arabile for their problems because they would need about 90 megaliters.
Yeah, because ultimately Royval is the actual wastewater treatment. That's the one that needs to work. It's going to take 18 months ultimately to complete from here on, is what you're saying. So then can I ask, does this mean that does the community, does Hammanskraal ultimately only get clean water at the end of the 4th module being produced, which, as you made note of, is in June 2025? Or is that just meaning that the availability of the 50 megaliters will come by that stage, but the water could be cleaner from before that? Because the problem, obviously, now is having clean water.
What happens, the network, like I was counting these areas, your Mandela, your actually the Ramots and the others, those ones they are currently receiving water right now.
Yes.
Certain parts of these 4 wards I've mentioned, not all the wards are going to get water now. But now for them to start to drink that water, there must be a declaration by the authority itself. Our own teams have just given me these results from the Mahadis Water Board. When the other additional 12.5 comes in at the end of March, more other sections are going to get water. By the end of April, more other sections. By the end of June, it does not mean that they will wait until June. In the meantime, Minister has agreed with the Mayor and the Premier that other areas that will not receive the water that is fit for use, the municipality will continue to use water cutting, even if we don't like it. That water cutting, people must not be actually being made to pay. That water cutting, they must get the water from the areas that are designated. That water is clean, which is the Mahadi system and the Rand water system, because if they are going to get water from the black market, there is a high possibility that people are going to get sick on the basis of health risk and acute risk. But the councillors must work with communities, tell them when are the trucks going to come to their areas. They must monitor them, even help the elderly and the frail that will not be able to come to the streets. In the meantime, while they are fixing the Royval, but the contribution of Minister of Water and Sanitation, by the end of June, all those communities that will be continuously indicating they will benefit. But as long as each module is finished, those communities will start getting water there and there.
Yeah, but it's about the clean water, sir. And you've just been speaking about the results that you've just gotten in terms of acute illness there. If I get it correctly, it's 97%. How soon can we get it to 100, do you think?
You know, now, in terms of average compliance, when you look at what you call microbial, in other words, are they bacteria and other issues, whether is it E. coli, the coliform count that you normally do, that one, the results look so good. They're above 95% because that's the standard we use. When it comes to chemical compliance, which has to do with issues of chronic health, those ones are also very good. But there's issues that are operational in terms of operational risk. On the operational risk, certain components in the hydrants right now that belongs to the network of that particular municipality, further flushing must be done and further disinfection must be done so that that water can look much clearer. But at the very same time, when we have done other tests, because the tests we do them every day, at 1600s we get the test, then the municipality in the next few days will advise whether they can start to use water for domestic use other than for other things, because until we declare, they should not be able to use that water for drinking. But the water now from the package plant module 1 has started to flow like we promised.
Two things then, just to finally close off. So ultimately, it'll take up until June next year is the anticipation then for when this water will come on board. It could happen ultimately in stages, as you've made note of, but by June next year, all 4 modules should have come on board, which ultimately gives them the water. It isn't the panacea, because Royval wastewater treatment works is the final panacea for what should be working in the area. But how do we ensure this doesn't happen again, so that you don't have to put aside the 750 million in future, and that you have the cholera contamination determined as to where that came from?
You are absolutely correct, Arabil. One of the biggest issues that we do is that it's an intervention by minister on the instruction of the president. We're supporting this metro, we're supporting eThekwini and many others. We are going to have a water summit and Imbizo called by the minister. Local government in a number of areas, they are becoming our weakest link. From the issues of planning itself, just how to plan infrastructure, how to manage the infrastructure, including how they manage the issues of finances, where finances must be ring-fenced, they must be actually be used to invest back in infrastructure for O&M, but also invest in terms of payment of the people that they owe, like water boards, but also build new infrastructure going forward. But this one in Tshwane, whether you go to eThekwini, you go to Nelson Mandela Bay, there are a number of ministerial interventions. We will support them. And it is a very good working relationship with the mayor, a good working relationship with the premier of Gauteng. Remember, we're not only dealing with the situation in Tshwane, just about a week or 2 ago, were to stabilize the situation around Johannesburg after there was a shutdown, a scheduled maintenance, which was a necessary inconvenience, and citizens, they were able to work with us. But then the system now is in a situation that you know that it is functional, it will give us a longer lifespan. But municipalities must be very decisive around investment infrastructure on time, both for growth in terms of population and also for growth in terms of the economy. But at the very same time, citizens must be able to use water sparingly.
Yes.
And the relationship between citizens and water must change.
Fully agree.
And then
Deputy
those
Minister,
who can afford to pay.
I'm so sorry to interject, Deputy Minister. It's just because we've run out of time, and I just need to ask you this final question. Does South Africa have a water crisis?
South Africa, in terms of water balance, we still have sufficient water balance. There are areas of deficit that we must note. But when it comes to water provisioning, Arabi, a number of our municipalities are struggling. A number of citizens are getting water in an intermittent supply or no supply. Hence our support as national government, working with the Minister of Cogta and overseen by the Deputy President in the work of the water task team assigned by President Cyril Ramaphosa.